What's going on, Tamers? East here, just going through my, week and a half long Digimon deck crisis at this point. Like, the stress has got to me so bad that I've had hiccups for like the past 12 hours. By the way, that's normal, right? Like, I don't have to see a doctor if that sort of thing happens, right? Like, I've hit the full trope where, you start with the deck list and you slowly make changes to it over the course of time until you realize that you've come full circle and the list that you ended up with was the one that you started with in the beginning. Yeah, I'm definitely going through it, but I'd be lying if I was saying that the process itself hasn't been really fun. That being said, my woes aside, we are in our second week of the BT20 Over the X meta over here in Asia, and I said last week that, most of the player base is kind of like checked out competitively. Wrong. And although most players right now are just competing for their prize cards at their weekly local events, there were a select few the weekend before last at this point who went to the Japanese Nationals tournament, which saw some great deck ideas with even more amazing pilots, the top 6 of which actually qualify for the World Championship later in March. And today we'll talk about all of these and more as we look at some event results, a couple of key takeaways, and a close look at some of the decks that topped over the course of the past week. So like I mentioned before, you would have thought that most players ending their competitive season would have folks kind of just playing whatever they wanted, but you wouldn't know that by looking at these results. So a couple of things. First of all, the Cool Boy emblem there you see at the Mega level is the new indication for Royal Knights. Sorry, I try to keep the images fresh, and when new cards come out for an archetype, I try to update them. But yeah, I didn't mention that last week, and a couple folks had questions in the comments. But yes, that is Royal Knights. But anyway, right now, Royal Knights is by far the most popular deck in the game, with 3 times as many wins as the second most winning deck, which is Digimon. Digimon's Gote 13 has the star power of housing many people's favorite Digimon in the entire series, but just in terms of general deck strength, this thing looks really promising. And even within the Royal Knights archetype, there have been a couple of builds that have been popping up, with the 2 most prominent being the most basic package, using some of the old cards from BT13, some of the newer cards from BT20, and just kind of putting together a really decent deck with that. Whereas there's a version where you kind of put your foot to the gas, pedal to the metal, and with the addition of fire rockets, taking advantage of many of the cards having multiple colors, gets insane offense to win games even faster. Moving along, this week also saw the slide of Imperial Digimon Virus down to the champion level, but make no mistake, this deck still packs quite a punch, with it taking top 4 at the Japan Nationals in convincing fashion. I haven't really mentioned it much, but alongside BT20, we also got some beautiful looking promo cards that gave support to some of the fan favorite decks out there, including things like Deep Sabers, Nature Spirits, Nightmare Soldiers, and Lynx Dragons, just to name a few. And I'm really happy to see some of those decks represented here with things like Nightmare Soldiers at the rookie level, as well as Lynx Dragon at the in-training level. And if any more pop up, I'll do my best to share them, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out, as well as for more Digimon card game content shuffled directly into your YouTube feed. The first list we're going to highlight this week is going to be the winner of the Japanese Nationals tournament, which was Umino's Imperial Digimon, but probably not the Imperial Digimon you were expecting. Umino took his talents back to BT16 using blue-green Imperial Digimon with a very simple yet refined list. All of his level 3s are either focused on searching, even going so far as to include a couple copies of the green Wormmon promo card to search out dual color cards in the deck, or to reduce play costs in things like the Vmon promo card as well as the BT16 Wormmon, who has the added benefit of also being able to do that from the trash. The level 4 is actually kind of surprised to me, foregoing all of the BT12 Stingmon in favor of the starter deck Stingmon, who can reduce cost if you have a blue Digimon on the board, as well as a lot of the dual color cards in the Digimon and Togemugumon. Speaking of the Togemugumon, this guy seems pretty flexible, giving you blocker plus armor purge alongside a little bit of source stripping and freezing opponents' Digimon. The level 6s also tend to keep things pretty straightforward, with a total of 3 dragon modes, 1 of the starter deck ones, 2 fighter mode aces, and the star of some of the games we saw on stream, Hexablaumon. Able to put Velgramon under immense pressure with a little bit of tamer hate, and the ability to prevent Digimon with less sources than him from suspending, and in which case, because you have a Paladramon lower end, you have a ton of sources, so it's really hard for most decks to actually swing. The rest of the list is padded out with familiar option cards and tamers, things like Return from the Primogenitor, Blue Scramble, and Ice Wall, and interestingly enough, Hidden Potential Discovered. A really funny quirk of Hidden Potential Discovered is that the only stipulation you have is that the Digimon that you Digivolve from has to have green. So in this case, you can actually rest a Piledramon and go into a Hexablaumon for 0 cost. And while Imperial Digimon Virus might currently be in the limelight for the game, Umino's list shows that blue-green Imperial Digimon can also shine on the world stage. Royal Knights are back in a big way thanks to the new support from BT20, including cards like the Omegamon, Omnimon X Antibody, Cool Boy, and the option card, The Last Guardian. Starting with the option, The Last Guardian is a cheap search card that can also be made cheaper thanks to the Kingdrasil's Inheritance effect that can search out Cool Boy as well as X Antibody or Royal Knights cards. It also has a nifty delay effect that can prevent one of your Omnimon named Digimon from being removed from the board one time. The Cool Boy Tamer also helps to increase the deck's resourcefulness by giving you additional card draw and memory every time you play a Royal Knights Digimon. And if that wasn't enough, whenever one of your Royal Knight trait Digimon were to leave the battle area, you can actually play from your hand an Omegamon for free. Speaking of Omegamon, this guy is a nasty little fella. He has Blogger, but also the peculiar effect of whenever he's deleted, you put him underneath your Kingdrasil instead of going to the trash. All of this culminates to when you lose a security, you can actually rest the Kingdrasil in the breeding area to play out the Omegamon on your opponent's turn onto the board, and if you have 1 or less security at that point, you can evolve into Omnimon X Antibody. And at least in the case for this deck, the Omnimon X Antibody can bottom deck one of your opponent's Digimon and then represents a 16k blocker on the board. And I know what you're probably thinking, East, but the Kingdrasil prevents me from evolving while it's in the breeding area. Well, take a closer look at that card, because if you read really carefully, you'll notice that effect is only on your turn. This is also the reason that you see really powerful ace cards included in the deck as well, things like the BT20 Alphamon Oryukin, as well as the Gallantmon Crimson Mode Ace. And to take full advantage of the potential ace play, you probably notice that many of the cards in the deck are either now red or black. Taking a look at things like the Jesmon from BT20 on the top there, as well as the old Jesmon from BT13 alongside the Gallantmons from BT13 on the bottom right, and even the BT13 Gankumon. And so thanks to all this new firepower, alongside the new Omnimon X Antibody's ability at end of turn to give one of your Digimon rush and let it attack without suspending, means you need to stack less Digimon underneath your Kingdrasil to actually win the game. And so that's Royal Knights in a nutshell. Keep in mind that looking at this list, the Rena Tamer is not a part of the list at all. This guy just likes waifus. Each week I allow my champion level and higher YouTube members to vote on decks they want to see featured in these meta report videos. And this week they voted to see Alphamon Chronicle. If you'd like to vote on decks that you'd like to see covered in these kinds of videos, as well as some other cool perks and bonuses like early access to my content, consider becoming a YouTube member as well. I want to give a big shout out to all the folks who do help support the channel, and with that, let's take a look at the Chronicle deck. This Alphamon Chronicle deck is a fantastic starter list as it pulls most of its cards from BT20 with only a couple cards coming from previous sets. The game plan is really simple. You want to search out your pieces with your level 3 Chronicle Dorumon or the older Dorumon or Ryudomon cards. From there you can go into your level 4s who have the ability to either evolve on attack or they can play down your Tamers for free. This is actually a huge premium as the new Yuji and Kota Tamer is a 5 cost. The deck really starts to do some interesting things once you get into your level 5s though. Once you hit those cards, you can actually play down a level 3 into your empty breeding area to start a second stack. And you can take advantage of this accelerated cycling from the breeding area thanks to the BT8 Yuji Tamer, who lets you get more memory and more card draw whenever you do that. To accelerate things even further, once you hit your level 6s, you can actually evolve the Digimon in the raising area for free, alongside some other really cool defensive effects, things like recovery or de-Digivolution in case of the Alphamon or the Oryumon. And once you have your level 6 up, you have the safety of Belgium's finest, the Blast DNA Alphamon Oryukin Mode Ace. He has the triple threat of effects, including recovery, huge DP minus like 15k, as well as the ability to steal turns and gain 3 memory whenever one of your security would be reduced. If all this wasn't enough, the added inheritance effects to let you trash your opponent's security as well as trash your own security to prevent your Digimon from leaving the battle area will keep your Oryukin in the game for the long haul. And so like I said in the beginning, if you've been looking forward to the Chronicle cards, then this is a great list to start building from. And with that, we're gonna wrap up week 2 of the BT20 Over the X meta report over here in Asia. Man, it's so wild to think that in just a couple of weeks, we're going to be at the same level. 2.5 releases over in the West, that'll have all the cards that we're playing with currently, and we'll be playing the same game. Let me know what decks you guys are excited for in that set in the comments below. And that, I think I can get up out of here. I don't know if you folks have noticed, but I've been getting my ass beat by hiccups during this recording session. Let's see how well Seiji has hit it the entire time. Although I think I've made it pretty hard, to be honest. Anyways, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. I am dying to hiccups right now. Why can't I stop them?